Hello everyone, my name is Rix Dibla, and today we shall continue with the tutorials that we are doing. So we shall try to look at the Python data types. Okay, so we left at the Python data types was our next topic, if you remember. If you don't remember, please look at the previous topics which we tried to do. I think they are in the playlist, and the link will be shown on your screen. Okay, so we shall look at the text type. In Python data types, we shall look at the text type, numeric type, sequence type, mapping type, set type, Boolean type, and binary type. Okay, in the text type, here we focus on the Python string. Okay, in the text type we shall just focus on the Python string. In the numeric type, we shall focus on integers, floats, and complex. Okay, in the sequence type, we shall focus on sets and frozen sets. Okay, so in the Boolean type, we shall focus on the type bool. Okay, so in the binary type, we shall focus on bytes array, and memory view. Okay, so let's begin our chapter 1. Our chapter 1, we shall look at the numeric type. Okay, so in the numeric type, we shall look at the integers. Okay, so in integers, they are classified into two. We have signed integers and long integers. Okay, so when somebody asks you what's a signed integer, so we'll tell that person this is often just called integers or int. Thus they can be positive or negative whole numbers. So when somebody asks you what's a signed integer, remember they are positive or negative whole numbers with no decimal point. Okay, so let's have an example. We assign a variable, say loan status, assigned integers. We shall have loan status can take a negative 200,000 or positive 200,000. If you can put this 200,000 as in dollars or shillings or Indian cash, I don't know how I think it's rupees. Yeah. Okay. Let's take an example. And we try to look at an example of how to write a signed integer. Okay, let me just do it in my computer. So let me create first a Python file. Okay, we call this signed integer .py. So if you can check here, it's signed integer.py. I'm using Visual Studio Code editor as my text-based editor. So we'll just create an integer. We say the loan status. We'll create a variable loan status. Okay, just as an example, say it negative 200,000. Okay, so if we try to print this loan status, what do you think we shall get? Okay, if we try to print this loan status, we shall just get the negative 200,000. Okay, and that means that's a signed integer. If you want to check, that's a signed integer. Okay, and if you wanted to make it a positive signed integer, positive signed number, we can just change this negative here, this negative 200,000 to a positive 200,000, and that will be a positive signed integer. Hope you are understanding. Okay, so we go to long integers. So when somebody asks you what's a long integer, you'll tell him this is called longs. They are integers of unlimited size, written like integers and followed by the uppercase L. Example, if you are trying to write a number, example, let's say you have a variable. Let's say you have a variable and you're trying to write it as a long integer. You just tell him this is a computer cannot interpret the word L. You cannot write here L and then you tell a computer to print this. The computer will take this L as a string. Okay, so but in convention way you can just write 200,000 like that. But if you are explaining to somebody or you are writing in a contextual way, like in a text format, you can put here letter L to show him that this is a long integer. Okay, example, if you are doing in a group project. So example, we assign a variable, say loan status, a long integer that we shall have. Loan status can take this value. This a very long number. I can't read it. Okay, that's a negative something, and then this negative 200 blah blah blah. That's a very long number. Okay, so in chapter 2 we shall try to look at floats. So these are also called floats. They represent real numbers and are written with a decimal point dividing the integer and the fractional part. Floats floats may also be in scientific notations. Okay, so let's take an example. We assign a variable, say loan status, a floating integer that we shall have. Loan status can take -200. You remember it's the same as the first one which you did of the signed integer, but here we have the decimal part. So we have the decimal 00 and the decimal 79. Okay, so that's how you write a float. That's how you write a float. Okay, so example, we assign a variable, say x, a float integer with the scientific notation. Here we are trying to place a scientific notation. Thus you shall have x can take a variable 2.5 times e raised to power 2. E, you know, it's an exponential, power raised to power 2. So e is written by 10 raised to power 2, which can also be x, because it can take a variable to 50, because e raised to power 2 is the same as e raised to power 2, which is the same as 250. Okay, so in chapter 2 we shall try to look at the complex number. So these are of the form a plus bj. Here a and b are floats, and j represents the square root of -1, which is an imaginary number. The real part of the number is a, and the imaginary part of it's b. Okay, so this is the real part. In complex number you write it as a plus bj, where a is the real part of the number and b is the imaginary part of the number, and j this is the complex root. Okay, which is -1 of the root. Okay, the example, let me just show you as an example. Let's say in Python to write complex number, use the word complex. Okay, so you can say a b, where a is 8 and b is 9. Okay, let's say we have a variable x, which takes a complex value, with 8 being the real part and 9 being the imaginary part. Thus in Python code we write it as complex bj. This, if I show you as an example, let me come here. Let me just use x. Okay, here x, and then complex needs to be in small letter. Okay, if you're writing complex number, but most of the time most people usually do not use complex number most of the time. Okay, but it's good if you know how to write a complex number. Example, if you are working in a group project or you are doing practice. Okay, so let me just run this function. Let me just copy this name. Let me just copy this name so that I can run this script so that you can see the output. As you're waiting for the output, you can continue. Okay, the output has already been given. So you can see the output here is 8, which was the same as our form ABJ, where A is 8 and B is 9. So you can see 8 is the real part and B is the imaginary part. Here 8 is the real part and B is the imaginary part. Okay, so we continue. So we look at the importance. Okay, so the important thing that to note from our topic, you can say that we can write integers, floats, and complex number using Python with inbuilt function. The important thing which you can use in typecasting. So int represent an integer, float represent a float, and complex represent. These are inbuilt functions which can help you write integers or help you do typecasting. Typecasting is where you are transforming a floating number to an integer number or an integer number to a floating number. Okay, so look at Python strings. So strings are a set of characters tied or threaded together. More importantly, in Python, strings may represent names. Example, name of a person or name of a location. Okay, we use the double quotation mark to represent the strings, or the single quotation mark. Okay, to represent the string. example, let's say we a variable x takes the string value lyrics dribbler, which is the name of a person. Okay, and also you can put x using a double quotation or a single quotation. That's how you represent a string. Okay, so in chapter 2, accessing string variable. Okay, remember in Python, to access substrings of a string, we use the square bracket for slicing along the index value in the index or indices to obtain the string. So this is possible because string in Python are stored as arrays. Okay, so example, we say letter L will represent the first array, which is 0. Y represent the second member of the array, which is 1. It's like that. Letter R will represent the negative 1. It will be -1 because you are reading it from the further end, and then -2, -3, -4, negative as you continue. So if you are trying to print the value at x0, it will print the L, because you are looking at the first character. And if you're looking at 1 to 5, it will print from, this is like print between 1 to 5, okay, or within 1 to 5, okay. So example, if you are trying to do negative indexing is whereby you are trying to print the from the farthest. You know, this is a positive because you are using positive because you are moving from right to left, and negative indexing will be from left to right. Okay, so the first character here will be -1, -2, -3, -4 as you continue to the left side. If you move to the right, it will be 0, 1, 2, 3 because you are moving to the right side. Okay, so in the negative, so we look at the string method. In the string method, we have length, which takes which you can write it as a length like this, and you can do strip. Strip removes the white space from the beginning or the end of the string. If you write a, let's say variable a takes the hello world, so it will remove this empty space between. Yeah, it returns the string in the lowercase. Upper returns the string in the uppercase. Replaces the string with another string. So this is how you write the replace method. Okay, and this is how you write the uppercase method and everything. And splits the string into substring if it's find instances of the separator. Example, you have a string hello world and hello world with a comma. So that will be our separator and world. So if you want to split this string into this whole string into different substring, you can using a separator comma. So it will print the hello and world. You can do it as an example, just as a practice. Okay. So thank you, and please remember to subscribe to my channel for more future video tutorials. If you like this video, please remember to give us a like, so that this will help us to do more in future. And even if you have any suggestion, please remember you can contact me at handlinks254, and that's my Facebook page or my Instagram page at handlinks254. The same name will be in the Instagram page, and I'll leave the link in my description. So thank you.